Welcome to Connecting with Supervisor Hudgens. Each month, the program features a topic of interest to the greater community. Today, our guest is Matthew Henry. Matthew is a senior at Georgetown University and a resident of Vienna, Virginia. Matthew has done something quite impressive for an undergraduate college student. He's written a book, and the title of the book is quite timely. Working Together, Why We Need Bipartisanship in American Politics is the title. Given the divisiveness in today's political environment, the subject of bipartisanship is a welcome idea, but a challenging one to tackle. Well, welcome, Matthew.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Well, I think you're really timely indeed, and the book should have quite a run, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, you know, how did you come about this? How did you get to saying, I need to write a book, first of all, and secondly, on this title?
The opportunity came up through my professor, Eric Custer. So my roommate wrote a book called The Immigrant, and he inspired me. And so a quick shout out to him. He just beat cancer, and he's a really strong man. And so I look up to him, and I was like, you know what, I want to write a book too. So I met with Custer, and he was like, yeah, you can totally write a book. You know, it'll take about a semester. And I'm thinking, a semester? Like, I don't know. So
you thought faster or slower?
I was thinking this is going to take a year or two. But through his guidance, I was able to get the work done.
And you chose the title because of what?
I chose the title because, I mean, that's what I felt. I feel like we do need to work together. And it actually took me a long time to think of a title like that. But
yes.
Even the topic itself, that was the third topic I wanted to write about. At first, I wanted to talk about foreign policy, talk about millennial dating, really diverse set of topics, but this was something that I knew that needed to be talked about, especially with the recent elections, especially with the recent rhetoric. We have to talk about this. And I think it first comes with the people. It starts with the people, and then the politicians will worry about later.
We can get to that part later, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I think being at your stage in life, you're around lots of young folks. Ideas are exactly what you want to do.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
you were in an environment that you felt comfortable in. Exactly.
Yes.
And so when you decided that it had the title, you had to get some information about it. And how did you go about doing that?
Well, I'm very blessed to be not only in Georgetown, but at the time I was taking Madeleine Albright's class.
Oh, yes.
And that was it was an intimidating class, but it was a terrific class. It was like drinking from a fire hydrant. It was just information, it was overload. But she also brought in guest lecturers. And so we had a wealth of resources already at Georgetown. And also the people at Georgetown were very, very receptive to understanding what's happening globally. And so that to me was inspiration to branch out outside of Georgetown actually, and to find out what my friends think, what the local people think. And that's what really made the book interesting.
Well, I understand you had some pretty powerful folks. Madame Albright is already enough, but lots others that on that level that you got an opportunity to interview. That's very impressive.
Thank you.
But it's also very enlightening, and I'd like to hear what you found there.
Oh yeah, so actually some of it was also luck. I was on a lunch date, and I saw Jesse Jackson. And I was like, wow, this is Jesse Jackson. And so part of me was, I want to impress the person I was with, but I also want to get an interview. And so I walked up to him and I said, excuse me, Mr. Jackson, I'm writing a book right now on bipartisanship. I would love to interview you briefly. And he was very receptive. And I asked him 3 quick questions, and he walked away with his bodyguards.
Well, that's good. Any others?
I interviewed Deval Patrick from Massachusetts, Dorothy McAuliffe, the wife of, I can't think of his name right
Terry
now.
McAuliffe.
Terry McAuliffe, there we go.
The past governor.
There we go. And yeah, it was really enlightening to meet with them, to have a one-on-one conversation and to get an insight of what they think about politics. And I don't want to focus too much on politicians in the book, but hearing from them was kind of cool because they're also just like regular people.
Yes.
And unfortunately, interviewing some people in government, there was this kind of bureaucracy. They would have to get permission from the higher ups. And that was a little bit frustrating in writing it. But from the former governor, from Dorothy McAuliffe, and also George Allen.
Oh, yes.
I interviewed him, and they're very down-to-earth people.
Well, that's a pretty good selection.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a lot of reaching out. It kind of reminds me because you can step up very quickly to people, and you find that they're friendly and generous with their time. That's it's a very important part. Well, what about the other folks along the way? Do you have other references that fall in the same category? And that is that the importance of the subject matter?
Well, the most important people, I think, were my friends. Because I was thinking, okay, who could I get that is interesting? That was the number one prerequisite for anyone who's going to be interviewed, whether they're in government, whether they're my friends, whether they're just people I don't know. They have to be interesting. And all of them were interesting. And the person that gave me the idea to write about bipartisanship is my friend Matthew Redman, who is a conservative, and he's an African American. So I thought I have to talk to him about it because he's an avid Trump supporter. And we talked about, how is it to be a Trump supporter, yet, also being an African American, do you feel ostracized? And at times he's like, you know what, I haven't really faced much of that, but he's proud of his beliefs, but he's also a very intelligent guy. And it was really fascinating to hear those perspectives. Not everybody, just because they vote a certain way is, a racist or, they hate, they want to ostracize a certain group of people. They're very nice people. It's just that maybe the opposing candidate doesn't fit their need to create a better life.
And that's a very good perspective because, and I'm sitting here as a political person saying, well, sure, I talk to my colleagues, and all of my colleagues don't happen to be the same party. And and you can get things done. So,
yes.
And that's an interesting aspect of it, though, because I think it does warrant a little discussion at this point in time.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So as you went through the book, how did you come up with how you, I have to have the opportunity to read it now, I hope.
Of course.
Beside, after interviewing those folks, what are some of the things that you came up with in terms of having the discussion? One, entering the discussion, and then two, coming away with how you can present to the public in this idea?
I think what I really learned is that we just have to listen more. And it's really simple. In writing this book, I was thinking the conclusion is going to be something elaborate. It's going to be something complicated. No, we just have to listen more. We have to empathize more. That's what's really causing the division. And unfortunately, if you watch the news, if you subscribe to social media, it's very easy to engage in groupthink. And that's the problem. We have to think for ourselves. It's very easy, especially as maybe millennials, to subscribe to what our parents believe. But you can't do that. You have your own brain, you have your own thoughts, you have your own intellectual capacity, you have to use it. And you have to investigate. Politics is a very long, it's a lot of information. My professor, when he got his doctorate, his dissertation professor said to him, "Congratulations, you know 1% of an entire field." So you'll never fully understand the field of politics. No one will ever do that. But what we can do is do our best to be curious and to further understand people.
And that really should be in the political arena.
Exactly.
What we do, that we do have different viewpoints.
Right.
Do we understand that person?
Exactly.
And can we connect why and what that viewpoint means when you connect those folks?
Exactly. No, we're also diverse in our experiences, so it's important to understand, all right, why do you believe in what you believe? And what did you go through? And instead of saying, I disagree with you, we should say, I understand you, or I empathize with you. That's the real way to kind of bridge the gap, instead of saying, no, you're wrong, and let me tell you why you're wrong. And that's not solving anything. We're just regurgitating, or we're just fulfilling our own self-prophecy. It's just
too often it takes a debate, and so whether or not are you debating or are you discussing and talking?
Exactly.
And you come a different way when you decide to maybe discuss something and talk about it.
Yes.
Then you decide to debate.
Right,
And,
right.
and I think that is an interesting one. Well, what did you hear specifically though when folks were looking at the viewpoints? You go from a Jesse Jackson all the way to another realm, and they come in different things. Did you look at the way they arrived at those? Did you interview one person and hear something that sounded very interesting,
Right.
worthy, and then someone else, but from a different vantage point, and give you that flexibility of the book?
Well, it's interesting, and luckily I was a big fan of Madeleine Albright, and also speaking with my mentor Andrew Embry. He was a former speechwriter for John Kerry, and he was very instrumental in how I approached this book. And his concept was morality. What do they really believe? And I got away from the politics and tried to look at who are they as people. Do they care about other people? And that was a common denominator with everybody. So they all, at the end of the day, cared about other people, but it's just the way that we care was different. Some people focus on the economics, some people focus on more social issues. So they were diverse in that aspect, but they all wanted to at least make a difference or make a positive impact on the world.
Yeah, it reminds me of a experience I've gone through. I live across the street. At the time I first moved in, my neighbor was the opposite party,
Right,
and
right.
so we could talk about issues. And when we decided we were going to only talk about issues that we could have a conversation on,
Right.
that was when we wanted to talk about. And if
Exactly.
not, and then you could talk about being your neighbor.
Right.
And that's
right.
the part that I think we might have difficulty with often, because I sit with colleagues next to me. So it's going to be interesting hearing the conversations in the book
Yes.
of how folks really looks at it, and how much differences do you see versus collaboration or acceptance?
Oh,
Did you
yes.
find Did you find any part challenging in terms of going through that process?
No, really, I enjoyed the process. It was a lot of fun. First, it was very introspective. I got to learn a lot about myself, and when conducting interviews, and also time management,
that's
the
a
opportunity
big
cost
part.
of being a full-time student and also writing a book. But it's not that hard, and I think it was successful because I wasn't on social media at the time, and my focus was on getting things done. And it worked, quite honestly. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed meeting people of different temperaments, meeting people of different backgrounds. It's really fascinating. And honestly, grabbing a coffee with them, already there's a common
So that
common
was
ground.
that was a real process piece, right?
Yes.
You're going to get your coffee, get a good conversation, and now we can kind of let our hair down, I would say.
Exactly. It's not. I think with politics, and you hear this a lot during Thanksgiving. Don't talk about politics or
That's-
religion. But I think with politics, we should be able to talk about it and not get so offended. It's not that big of a deal. It's as long as you're transparent and be like, I believe in this, but I'm open-minded.
Right.
Maybe my mind could be changed.
Well, and are we not better the broader we are in terms of what we do? And if you don't believe, it's one thing, but if you don't know, you're
Right.
absent more. And
Exactly.
that opportunity to say, well, yeah, I heard Matthew's viewpoint. It was okay, but I still have my viewpoint. And
Exactly.
you walk away and have that comfort zone there. And that's a
Right.
piece that I think you've probably then learned that people too often now and today, people have a viewpoint that they would like to sell to someone else
Right.
versus the fruitfulness of having a conversation.
Yes,
and,
yes.
and that's part that's there. Did you think of any problems that you had to walk away from as you were doing the book, though?
Well, the biggest problem I think for me was I cannot insert my own political opinion because I'm writing about bipartisanship, and if I insert my opinion, it kind of deviates from the message. So that was the toughest, but luckily I got away from that because of feedback. Feedback was incredibly crucial to the success of the book. And I went through
Yes.
The Ringer. I wanted the most opinionated people to look at the book and tear it apart. Like, if there's anything wrong, like, let me know. And, you know, I watched, my dad went through it, my mother went through it, a lot of people went through it, even my mentor went through it. They gave really constructive feedback. And, I mean, it panned out. It was tough at the beginning to get that kind of feedback, but it worked out.
Well, that's really impressive, because that's a diligence that you had to give to it. And so now you've gotten this first book, and you still have some more time in school.
Yes.
So what are you going to do now?
Well, right now, I'm trying to raise money for the Huntsman Cancer Research Center. We have a dodgeball tournament and a three-point contest, which will be on Georgetown campus. And I'm really excited to raise as much money for that as possible. But also, I do want to write a second book. That will be more into millennial dating, the transformation of social media and its impact. So that's going to be cool because I get to interview a lot of millennials, and that's just an excuse to be more social and also drink more coffee.
Drink more coffee and get out there.
Yes.
But you seem like you've found another place, though.
Yes.
What did you tell me your major was?
Public policy.
Public policy. So you can use all of what you've learned in terms of doing public policy.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating journey, and not only learning about myself, but learning about the people around me, and knowing that there's a lot of good in people. That's the best part about writing this book, is that there is so much good in people, but I think we kind of camouflage that. If we watch the media, if we watch the news too much, we just see all the negative, and there's a lot of positive in this world too. And I think we should have a day to just like switch off all media, and just talk to each other. Like in person.
Well, I think that says something about where we are today, because we have this wonderful tool that we're in, and it allows an opportunity for people to share.
Right.
And they may not be selective, or they may not be considerate in how they share, but I think what you're saying is that you build yourself and others too by having those conversations.
Of course. Of course.
It's amazing because, as I say, my neighbor across the street, the Christmas party is a great thing to do. You enjoy each other. You can talk about everything else that you know, but you can say, okay, here's my opinion. It's going to be different than yours, and guess what? You still have yours, and I'll still have mine.
Yeah.
And
right.
if you would think about when you started this, did you? I can tell that you reached an outcome that you really have been impressed yourself with, and others would be. But did you have any fears that you might not succeed?
Yes. I feared deadlines.
Deadlines. That's it.
Yes, deadlines was the biggest fear factor, because unlike writing a traditional academic paper, an academic paper is maybe in Georgetown 2 to 3 pages. Maybe 5 at the most. They really focus on giving you a whole load of information and then condensing it.
Yeah.
But with writing a book, I would have to write, let's say, I think it was like 7,000 words in like within a 2-week span. And at one point I didn't even start the book. I have to come up with 7,000 words in politics. I was terrified. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, like where do I begin? And so the hardest thing, but the easiest, was just to write.
Just start
It was
writing.
hard to start writing, but it was also the easiest thing to do. All you have to do is just write.
Yeah, I can remember saying that to my children. Just get started.
Yeah.
And you get started, and it starts to roll. And so you were able to really structure yourself in a way after you got through that process, I'm certain.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
You know, writing a book is all about a procedure. It's all about it's like a map to getting into writing a book. And, you know, you do it through the interviews, you do it through the writing process, the get smart phase, you're just educating yourself, and then you doing more interviews. So it's kind of like a process. It's not just like you write and you just read a bunch of books and then you write about it. It's a really interesting process, and it's about storytelling.
Yes.
Versus an academic paper, which is about a thesis, and then you kind of go off of the thesis.
Yeah.
With storytelling, it's a lot more compelling, it's a lot more interesting. And you get to talk about the experiences that you're having as well. So it's really nice.
Well, I think that's a very, I think, an impressive way to come out of this with you, because I when I first said, oh, he's very aspirational there, looking to do this at so young. But you've learned something very quickly that you can do that you never thought about, I bet.
Yes, yes.
So you've taken from that the opportunity to continue doing this.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the task at hand was daunting. But having gone through it, it wasn't that. It was kind of cool in a way. I started in March. I started writing in March and ended in November. And so through
Whoa.
that kind of stemmed some sort of confidence of, oh, I can get this done. It's not that hard. And through that confidence, I want to work on more projects. It's about creating. In school, I don't think they talk much about creating. It's about regurgitating information.
Right.
The more we create, not only the better we'll feel about ourselves, but like the more you can do, the more you can do with people. So
I think that's the very exciting part, and I think there probably is a personality trait here, though, that one you have the ability to kind of measure yourself,
Right,
and
right.
two, you obviously enjoy people.
definitely.
Because I think most people would find it daunting to say, oh, I'm going to go out and pull off these celebrities or well-known folks and talk to them and think they're going to give me something back.
Right, right.
So you were very much willing to be that engaging and feel comfortable.
Yeah,
so
thank you
you
so
think
much.
there's another book in the future, maybe?
Yes, I am definitely going to start writing as soon as possible. I haven't figured out the title yet, but right now I'm just going to continue interviewing. That's where most of the information comes from, and just go from there and continue to write and continue to learn.
No idea of subject area yet?
Mostly about dating in the 21st
Oh, yes, right.
century.
So you're going to go.
Yeah, talking about the evolution of social media, how it's impacted the way we date, how do millennials think about getting married and having kids, our living situation, why many millennials still live with their parents, the effects of the real estate. I mean, it's pretty hard to, for people my age, it's hard to get a one-bedroom apartment.
You're exactly right.
The price is augmented to almost $2,000 a month. Like, that's insane. So I definitely want to talk about something along those lines.
But the writing is really a part of your your journey for now.
Oh, yes.
It does, and you can still do your public administration piece. Your major. What was your major?
Public policy.
Public
Yes,
policy. Yes, you can still do your public policy.
Yes.
And that works quite well. Well, it's an impressive one. I am anxious to get a cup of coffee
Oh,
and see
yes,
if I
of
can
course.
find your book and see if I can get the enjoyment that I had today out of it, because it's been very impressive in hearing you talk through the process. But I can also hear in your voice the enjoyment that you had doing it.
Oh,
And
yes.
that is always a plus when you're tackling a large task.
Oh,
and,
yes.
and you've been able to tackle the task and get some great information out of it. And I would ask, because you're a student, what did your parents say about it?
At first, I'm thinking they were like, I don't know, he's gonna write a book. I don't think so. But when they saw the physical copy, I could see that they were impressed. Well, hopefully they were impressed. But,
I would say they were impressed. Well, that's a really good thing to have, and I really do appreciate hearing about it. And thanks for introducing it to us as being in the political environment. A lot of what you've talked about really does kind of resonate in terms, and I would say the best, most successful political processes had to take in everything that you said, that you have to listen, you have to be
Yes.
able to accept differences of opinions, and you can still go away having fulfilled something that you have taken away, it's positive for you. So that's been wonderful. Well, thank you
course.
very much for letting us know about this, and it's an interesting piece, and good luck to you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
It's good. Well, it's time to close today's discussion. Thank you to Matthew for joining me today. Our community is well served by young people like Matthew who think about and offer solutions to better future. Once again, Matthew's book is Working Together: Why We Need Bipartisanship in American Politics. Can be purchased at local bookstores